My name is Maddie. I am a first year, and I use she, her pronouns. I originally wrote my speech to be addressed to Catherine Bergeron, but she's not here, so I'm speaking to all of you instead. When you search for Connecticut College's mission and value statement, among the 5 points is diversity, equity, and shared governance. Where has that been true? When has that been true? How has that been true? A president is meant to uphold and display the values and strengths of a college community. You have taken the opposite role. You have become a figure for the exact values our college adamantly claims to be against, not only with the Everglades event, but with a consistent and exhaustive ignorance towards the needs of our community. But it's not just about you. It's greater than you. Not only have you acted against our college's values, but you have displayed the flaws present throughout our administration. You do not care about students. You care about money, regardless of how dirty that money may be. My reason for occupying Fanning stems directly from the flaws within this administration. I decided to come here because I knew that, as a white person, I was at a significantly lesser risk of facing unfair treatment from this college's administration. It wasn't a question, it was a fact. As a white person, I don't have a story about directly facing prejudice, but every single marginalized student I know has a story from Con. Every single one. So don't tell us this is not an institutional issue. Don't tell us these things take time or it doesn't happen overnight when your administration has not supported marginalized students, faculty, or staff for years. And don't tell us that our central values are diversity, equity, and shared governance when this administration has done nothing to support our suffering community.
I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a junior here at Connecticut College. I was not prepared for what happened the first night of the occupation. As I was getting ready to go, I started getting messages saying plans had to change, that campus safety officers were everywhere, and that they were chasing students out of Becker, forcing them to run and hide in bushes. I grabbed my things and ran across Temple Green into Fanning, where I crouched on the floor of a classroom, in the dark, in silence, waiting for the rest of the occupiers to come so we could lock the doors. We were sitting in there like there was an air raid. I was scared out of my mind. My anxiety started to spike. My heart was pounding. I was shaking. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. The only thing that kept me from having a full panic attack in that moment was my friend Wes, who stayed with me, talked to me, and gave me a pebble to rub to help ground me. If it wasn't for him, I would not have been able to keep myself together. We then heard that Campo was coming, and we had to run upstairs to one of the 4th floor classrooms and lock ourselves in there. We grabbed what we could, ran up the stairs, and locked the doors, once again crouching, in the dark, in silence. Campus safety came into the building looking for us. They only left because students outside started creating a commotion to draw them away. If it wasn't for those students who supported us, we would have been found. If it wasn't for those students, we would not be here right now. That experience speaks volumes on how this campus is run right now. Students are forced to band together to make up for the failings of the administration. We are forced to step up and support each other when no one else will. I want to tell you a few stories about what happens when you don't fund and staff your DIEI offices. In my sophomore year fall, I took a studio design class for my major. The professor for that class was sexist and racist. My work and the work of my POC friends was never good enough for him. He would frequently move goalposts and make our work harder while handing praise and handing out help to the white men in his class. Once I was told to redo all the work I had done over an entire week before the class the next day. An entire week's worth of work, not good enough for him, and had to be redone in one night. I would regularly work 30 hours a week on this one class. I didn't sleep, I didn't see my friends, I couldn't. He also expected all of us to spend $300 on art supplies with no mention on what you should do if you couldn't financially manage that. Then there was the time I was working in the studio and saw him turn to a student and call him crazy hair. When the student asked him why he had called him that, the professor responded, "That's your Native American name, crazy hair." After that incident, I decided to do what we are all told to do during orientation and what we see in every syllabus. If you witness or experience racism, you can go to the Title IX office and report it. So that's what I did. I trusted that this institution would help me, and I went to the Title IX office. I met with Ebony Manning, who told me I couldn't remain anonymous, that the professor had the right to know who had reported him, even though I was still in his class and he still had control over my grades. I was also told that she would conduct some interviews and get back to me in a week. A week passed. I hadn't heard anything. Then Ebony Manning left the college. At this point, I had tried to find help. I had tried to reach out, but a now empty Title IX office and an institutional failure to care stood in front of me. I was still in the class though. I couldn't drop it because I needed it for my major. That's when I started feeling helpless and trapped. That's when I started sitting on the floor of my dorm room, staring at a wall, praying that I wouldn't wake up the next day. I told my friends I was suicidal, and they supported me through that time, making sure that I ate, that they were there with me at night when it got bad, and listened to me as I told them the next horrible thing my professor had done. They are the only reason I am here today. If it weren't for my friends taking care of me when the institution failed, I would not be talking to you right now. My friends helped me talk to my advisor and tell him what I had been experiencing with this professor. He wanted to help me and told me there wasn't much he could do. He's a professor. It's not his job to run Title IX for you. But he listened and told me he would see what he could do, and if other students would come to him, he could maybe do more. He gave me hope that things could change. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here fighting right now. Unfortunately, many students had lost that hope. When I asked them if they would be comfortable speaking out about the experiences they had told me about, they said they didn't think anything would happen anyways. They didn't want to put themselves in harm's way for speaking only to be silenced. And that's what we've been taught here at Con. That you can speak out, you can talk to the right offices, but no matter what, this institution does not care. The administration does not care. You can't change anything. I'm sick and tired of it, and that's why I'm here. I've seen this in other places too. I helped a student go to the Office of Sexual Violence Prevention and Advocacy when they were too scared to go alone. We went there, talked to Rachel Stewart, and got some advice. But the very next day, she announced that she would also be leaving the college. After that, that student didn't want to continue seeking help, since they didn't know where to go now that the SVPA office was empty. No one at this college sticks around long enough to listen to us. No one sticks around long enough for our cases to actually go through. Our voices are discarded and forgotten when the support networks break. There's not enough staff or funding to help us when we need it. When offices are only staffed with one person and that person leaves, what are we supposed to do? That's why we stopped trusting you. We students are now supporting each other. We build our own care network to make up for the failings of the institution. We reach out to the faculty and staff we know we can trust and rely on them to support us as well. We've given up on you, Kathy B. But we can't keep doing all this work for you, which is why we're here. It's not our job to be the Title IX office, the Office of SVPA, and the Division of Institutional Equity and Inclusion for you, while you take your time searching for new candidates. Catherine, it's time you take a cue from all the staff you have pushed out of this institution. It's time for you to leave this college so we can find a president who actually cares.
Hello, soon-to-be former President Bergeron. I'm a student and dining staff member. You are the president of Connecticut College. I am sleeping on the floor. You are not. I am helping a campus come together. You are not. I am fighting to make a change. You are not. I am not alone in my ambition. You are. We are all individuals fighting for institutional change, and you are a pawn of an institution. Look me in my eyes and tell me that SVE, DIEI, and more don't deserve a cut of your paycheck for the non-stop work that they've done. Never has a con protest been so fully backed by the faculty and staff. Never has a con lock-in lasted this long. That's not something to be proud of. Since you haven't been here at all to observe these protests, I hope reading about our suffering on various news outlets has reminded you about why this began in the first place. A failed understanding of responsibility. From your frivolous emails, in which you never discuss where you have gone wrong, we can gather that you still have no idea whom to blame. Take a look around. Please trust me when I say that you are the perpetrator. You have actively disrespected and belittled the systems on this campus that were made to stop hate and provide resources. Hopefully you've heard all the recorded testimonies from today and from Thursday night about your deans that are supposed to uphold the standards of this institution and how they are responsible for things not far from the loss of student lives. However, one point from Thursday is one that I need you to hear. I'm a junior, and I've been working in dining services every single year, from Harris to COVID Crow Dining Hall to Oasis and now Humphreys. And all I've ever seen in my time there are my coworkers and bosses and managers receiving slanderous blame for problems they cannot control. I've seen innocent members fired or punished for things they weren't trained for, and I've seen broken equipment stay broken until it becomes detrimental to the safety of underpaid and overworked staff members. A story all too familiar. If we cannot trust you to actively support an integral system like student dining, then how can we trust you to support the systems that would allow for this school to be a safe space for those who aren't properly represented? This is when I would ask you, on behalf of all those who are in here protesting, to step down or to step up. And you have shown us time and time again that you will not step up. So you must step down. You must resign.
Earlier this week, Student Voices for Equity reached out to current President Catherine Bergeron. We invited her to Fanning Hall, where SVE leaders would host the first meeting between Bergeron and student protesters involved in this movement. We set up a two-part meeting, the first with the Fanning occupation team, to give them the opportunity to share their testimonies with Bergeron, and the second with SVE Occupy Committee as the first dialogue between SVE and Bergeron. Understandably, the invitation was somewhat uncomfortable for Bergeron to accept immediately. She requested more information and for the presence of one or more deans to accompany her. These were requests that we accommodated by providing answers to our questions regarding the number of student attendees and the potential topics of the meeting. We also welcome the presence of up to 2 deans of her choosing. Unfortunately, as of this morning, she refused to attend the meeting, claiming that she cannot accept our choice to visually record testimonies and create a live audio transcript of the entire meeting for accessibility and record-keeping purposes. We explained our reasoning for both, stating that the occupiers have been restricted to Fanning Hall for nearly 10 days. They have not had the opportunity to equally share their testimonies as other students have. To honor the wishes of the occupiers who will be sharing their stories, who have shared their stories with you, we will monitor videography for this meeting. Additionally, we will provide a live transcript for accessibility purposes. In our opinion, the transcript was particularly necessary to provide the entire community with as much transparent information as possible regarding the information shared during this meeting. For us, this was a non-negotiable condition of holding this meeting. We offered Bergeron the opportunity to arrange her own recordings as well, in case for her discomfort stemmed from an assumption that we would edit or manipulate the recordings. Despite this, she found it impossible to be open and transparent if an undisputable record was to be created. We are very disappointed in the president. We find it laughable that a tool that would provide equal information to all was unacceptable to the president. Hopefully in the future, the current president will be more open and willing to engage in dialogue with student leaders to create a mutual understanding regarding a better Connecticut college. Despite the predictable disappointment of the president's absence, we have still held this meeting to allow our occupiers to share their testimonies with you all today, and we thank you for watching.